How can you do all that needs done in life and still pursue your desire to learn French or the guitar or grow a plant or make art? You can't put a fiddle under your pillow and wake up playing it. Though how cool would that be? But one thing we can do, no matter how chaotic and overwhelming life can be, is know that every tiny small motion in the direction of those endeavors really do matter. And not only that, they add up over time with great momentum. Join me, Fain, as I interview painters and gardeners, designers and musicians, photographers and cooks, creative livers of any kind who have somehow, in the middle of it all, continued on their creative paths, no matter what. This is Fain House Radio, and I'm so glad you're here.
My name is Atiyeh. I believe the most creative endeavor, even though it makes me smile saying it, is learning languages. I've started basically when I was 18, moved out and had to learn English and then French because I couldn't get enough of English. And then, I feel like that is the most creative endeavor of my life that had an impact all through in different ways that you don't think really, but yeah.
Speaking a little bit of your childhood and where the story of Atiyeh began, were there moments in your childhood that you think helped point you in the direction of the kind of work that you do right now?
Yes, and that would be different from maybe the languages part because, well, now, as you know, I work as a leadership coach and I absolutely love it. I think what maybe helped in my childhood was, well, my dad was a big part of me reading. So he was, even from, I think I was 3 or 4 years old, he would basically make me memorize poems. And I loved it. And I would perform, if you had guests. I mean, it's so funny now I think about it. I enjoyed it. It wasn't like, oh, I was forced to do it. It was a fun time with him. And then when I got older, so 7, 8 years and, upwards, a lot of books he gave to me to read and different things, novels, even magazines he would go and buy for me, especially women issue related, interestingly enough. And he gave me the love of books. And I think I didn't even realize till I started this new coaching endeavor that, oh my goodness, everything I've read is helping me right now in how I'm helping other people, because you learn so much through books. Like, people think you should go and get a degree, which I have also. But honestly, I think reading books was even more influential than all the masters. I mean, the 2 master's degree I got. So I think in that way that helped. Learning languages helped only because I was not good at them, or I thought I'm not good at them because of the school teacher I had. I think many people, identify with that. And I always thought I'm just not good at it. And then moving to a new country and then doing and the learning, I just realized, no, I mean, it's not like I'm not good at it. Obviously, I learned it. So, and I think that was a switch in my thinking of, I had it before, but it even, was more confirming that, if you want something, you are going to get it. And it's really, truly is about mindset. And it sounds cliche, but it's so true. It's so true. So English was my worst subject at school. I hated it with my soul and every bone. And then, I did a bachelor's degree and did a master's degree in English, and now everything is in English, and in my partners is English speaking. It's just like, wow, from a place where your teacher just told you you can't and you are not going to learn it, to this place, mindset.
Tell us which country you were born and then which country you live in now.
Yes. So I was born in Iran. I moved to Switzerland when I was 18, 19. So my vision of the world really was shaped in Switzerland. It's totally my home, of all the homes I've been. And then I moved to Canada about, I believe, 14, 15 years ago to the French side in Quebec. And then now I'm in Toronto and loving it. Yeah.
The experience that you had of having a teacher say you're not good at a certain thing, how old were you? Where were you living at that time?
I was in Iran and I was secondary school.
Thinking about that teacher at that time, when we're young, we're very impressionable. And this happens
Mm-hmm.
for so many people. Many people have stories of, I was always told I can't sing, or I was told I'm not an
Mm-hmm.
artist. I was told,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm not good at languages. And how that made you feel in your small little brain as a child versus now, clearly, I mean,
Oh.
it's like a huge part of your life. The
Yes.
languages have been such a huge part. What would you tell that teacher if you saw them on the street one day?
But I think it's also, I mean, it would sound odd what I'm going to say, but I feel for her because most probably she didn't know and she wasn't trained how to talk to kids either, right? Because I'm sure between the ages of, I don't know, 0 to 7 is your imprint time, and then 7 to 14 is the time you're impressionable. Like everything that comes at you kind of believe. If she would have known, I don't think she would have done that, to be honest. There are jobs that you get trained to do the job, but not more. And there are also jobs that you even don't get trained. So that part of human psychology, I mean, every teacher should be trained on, how to deal with kids, what words to use, what words not to use. But I would say to people who are going through this and feeling, and even, into your adulthood, it could come to, you're 30 and you still feel that inadequacy, or I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough. To be like, no, it's what you want with a clear mindset, you're going to get. It's something I've believed from my 20s. It just got better and better.
Well, I love that message because number one, you have empathy for her for where she was on her journey. And so many of the times I think is unintentionally done. And then number two, I love what you're saying because we don't have to stay blocked. Like we can get these big blocks around these things.
Mm-hmm.
And that even if it happened to us during that impressional time, it affects us, but it really still does not determine who we are forever, which is so much of the work you're doing right now.
Yes.
How would you describe what you do?
I transform people's lives. That's how I describe what I do. That's my mission. Very specifically for women because I have huge affinity towards them. And because of my work before too, I mean, before this coaching business, I've been in marketing for, in fact, my whole career before, and mostly women, because I don't know why it happens that you have more women. It's my mission to really transform people's lives. And it's really not rocket science, which is wonderful. It's just to make people realize what's their potential and see the best in themselves and just encourage people. Like everybody needs a coach, in one way or another, to be really at their max potential, to really feel, what they're doing, it's lighting them up. It really lights me up when I see people's aha moments and like, oh my God, I didn't think about that. Or, oh, this is coming from, childhood stuff with parents who also don't intend to hurt you. But again, parenthood is another thing that doesn't need a prerequisite. Like you've just become a parent. There is no training, there is no certification, it just boggles my mind always. I think there are two jobs that need the most training and don't have it really, it's parents and leaders. You just don't get the training. You do the job, on the go or whatever. Interestingly enough, if you want to adopt a kid, oh my goodness, you have to go through a system and years of whatever, which I'm not saying they shouldn't, but it's interesting how there is such a discrepancy. If you cannot make a child naturally, then you have to go through all the prerequisites. But if you can make it naturally, just go for it.
That is actually a very interesting point. I think being a parent's the hardest thing I've ever done in my whole life. And part of it is that there are those moments where you really don't know if you're doing the right thing or what the right thing is to do. You clearly have an inner drive in you that isn't scared to try new and challenging things, including going to university in French.
Yeah.
That's a huge project. If that is not your native language, that's really big. I've been learning French for years, and that idea overwhelms me a lot, just thinking about it. What did that experience teach you?
Honestly, I think about the time I did it, I kind of was crazy, which is great. I'm glad for that craziness. If you tell me today, I don't think I would do it. But again, you need that kind of craziness at the time to go for it, right? I loved French culture, French food, French everything, French music, even if I didn't understand a word of it. Well, I lived in Geneva, but I was surrounded with English speakers and I went to American school, so I wasn't really fully immersed in French, but I was very much in the cultural space. And then I decided, I really want to learn this language. I did English, I can do French, let's do it. And then I moved to Quebec to do a master's degree in public communications in French. Don't ask me why. I mean, honestly, I cannot even describe, but I don't know what I did. I remember my cover letters were written by one of my friends, by his help, because I was not that great. And then I went for it. I studied like I've never studied in my life like that, even though I was a good student before. And to the point that right now I think in French, I dream in French, my phone stuff are in French, like your setup and everything. If I am tired or angry or upset, I speak in French. I switch immediately. And I really feel I love just the French culture. I think the love for the culture really made me do it. And yeah, I kind of identify very much with that culture. Even their, philosophers, the books, the liberalism they have, the openness. But yeah, it was a crazy thing to do. Like, I can't even fathom how I came up with that idea, but it was like, just do it.
I love how you're saying that you just were a little bit crazy, mixed with maybe a smidgen innocent about what it would be, mixed with so excited. For someone who would like to approach learning a language, do you have some things that you could share that you did that kind of helped you get going?
Just doing. Honestly, I never felt I was, it came to me naturally. It didn't. It really didn't. Some people are just, things come to them naturally. But I think it's just doing it, Anything, by the way, not only languages, anything is by doing that helps. And there is a threshold with everything, including languages. Like you learn to a point, and then it's so hard to pass that point to get to, fluency. Like, okay, I'm at this level. But doing something, for me personally, going and doing a master's degree was like, okay, I have to get to that level, because it's not just, bonjour, comment ça va? It's one level or maybe two levels higher. And you get help. That's another thing. Get help. So don't do it, by yourself. Another problem we have in our culture in general, in the North American culture, is that you have to do everything by yourself. You have to go through the grind. You have to struggle. Like, no, you don't have to. I had a wonderful, wonderful friend in the school when I started the master's degree in French. And we were two foreigners in the class. So everybody else was Quebecois. And she was a journalist, and I mean, French speaking. She was from Tunisia. And so, I mean, she was impeccable with her French. And my goodness, the help I got from her, I owe half of my master's degree to her, period. I could not have done it by myself. Impossible. Absolutely. So get the help, ask, people are really lovely in general. So just ask. I think go for it and ask for help so that you have the encouragement going.
You're not in a vacuum. You're not going to speak that language in a vacuum. You can't learn in a vacuum.
No.
And a lot of times, we'll use YouTube or try to do things by ourselves or not spend the money or whatever. And actually, if you do spend that time and money, it can just triple the speed that you're learning.
And even more, right?
Yeah.
It's an investment. It's an investment that you will have for the rest of your life.
Do you have a Quebec accent or a French mainland accent?
I think I have a mix. The first year I went back to Switzerland because after I moved to Quebec, every year I went back for summer because it's home too. And then I remember my friend saying, "Oh, now you have a mix of Swiss and Quebecois."
That's really fun. So when you're in Switzerland, they say you have a Canadian accent.
And when I'm in Quebec, exactly.
That's such a fun problem to have.
I think learning languages, another awesome thing about it is that it really opens doors to another culture, like the books you read, the things you hear, and you're like, oh, people think like that in that part of the world. And it's very different from the way we think. And how awesome that is. Like, just that part of it, I think is worth going through the craziness.
It makes me think of in the Chronicles of Narnia, like opening the door.
Right? It really does. I remember the book, it's called The Second Sex from Simone de Beauvoir, French philosopher, feminist. One of the people I would have loved to meet if that was possible. I remember my dad gave me her book in Persian when I was 15 years old as a gift. It was my birthday or something. I cannot tell you how much I got influenced by that book at that time. And when I learned French, because she wrote in French, oh my God, it even gives me goosebumps right now talking about it. And when I read it in French, oh my God, I was just like in another planet, like just feeling her very differently, right? Because when you translate, things are different in different languages. So I think just for that, it was worth learning it.
One thing we've talked about is the word creativity or being a creative is kind of a charged thing, or people will hear it and think, well, I'm not a creative or I'm not creative myself. And I feel that everyone is, every single human from babyhood on. We love having our hands in things. We love kind of like looking and watching, and even as adults. And that creativity as a term is wide open to include maybe everything.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts about this feeling of like a creativity cool club versus everyone knowing they are creative and kind of opening that up in themselves and feeling like really good about that?
Well, I think again, it comes from childhood and onwards, right? How we are told this is being creative, this is being logical, this is being good at sciences. So we put everything in categories from a very young age. And then we are told, I mean, including myself, for me, for a long time, creativity was, people that can draw and, paint, and I cannot even, do a straight line. So yeah, I didn't consider myself as a creative person. But then it's how you describe it, and it totally makes sense when you say it. But it has to start from, very young age when we're at school, to be trained on these are different forms of creativity. It's writing, it's one. Having a business is another form, which you may not think about it that way, because again, at school you were told if you can paint and draw, then, or if you can play a musical instrument, then you are creative. It feels like what you just said, it brings the word to democratize the whole creativity thing. Let people think that they are. You can be creative with your words, how you talk. After removing that barrier in my head that, oh, this was just for a select few. And we are also told, at least from my experience, you are born with it. So that is a bigger issue, because if you're born with it, then I cannot make it. I cannot do it. So how do you change that perception and thinking that you're not born with it? There are just people that put the time into it and people that choose not to.
And it's interesting because the idea of like a more limited idea of what being creative is means you're saying, well, then you have to be born with it. So that means that there's a crowd of people who will always not feel part of it. Mm-hmm. And then it also means that that crowd of people assumes that what the creative people, quote, creative in that definition, it's just easy for them. They didn't have to work for it. Why should we pay money for it? So it has flip sides in every direction, when actually it is sort of like a way of seeing things. Creative thinking can be applied to any single thing, on the table. And which includes when we decide, okay, I want to pursue my creative endeavors, that might be gardening or cooking. It doesn't need to be as a profession. That also includes some work and time that goes into it. And then we turn and we see somebody's, artwork that we love, and we think, instead of, oh, they were just born and they just like blot it out, and it must have been easy for them. Well, no, they took that time and energy to create it. And then the appreciation loop starts to close, and everything is kind of good for everybody. You're at the very beginning of getting your own small business going. Yeah. What are some of the creative elements that you're seeing and feeling in starting your business?
Oh my goodness. I love it. Everything about it. Well, I think the learning part is a big part of the creative process in, anybody who wants to start their own business. Designing your life, right? How you want it to be for yourself, for your family, for the future. I think, the past 6 months, the amount I've learned, and every time I say that, like any new thing I go into, it's mind-blowing, the learning. And just you feel you are building it, right? Building something, painting you are doing. It's your painting, right, of your life. For me personally, I've been blessed with my career before, with the teams I've been part of, with my partners in crime and supervisors that absolutely changed my life in wonderful ways. But this is just, another level, I have to say. It's not easy. It's absolutely not. But it doesn't have to be easy for you to start. It doesn't mean that it has to be a struggle. I never believed in struggle in anything, it doesn't have to be a struggle. You should think about, I think for business, to think about, if you are thinking of, having your own thing, is what comes to you naturally and go with that. Because we always focus on our weaknesses and things that, we have to improve on. Fine. But don't spend 80% of your time there, maybe 5% if you need to. put the 95% into what comes to you naturally, what lights you up, what you get results with. Because what comes to us naturally, we usually dismiss because we don't even notice it. So yeah, I think it's maybe one of the most creative endeavors of anybody, doing your own thing.
Yeah, I can tell you really, really love it.
Yeah, love with capital and italics and bold.
One of our friends, you've been working with one of our buddies to become a little bit creatively unblocked because she already is that. She already felt that way and things she was working on and was, we have those ways of getting in our own way. Are there some things that you did with her or things that come to your mind that people could try just from listening to you talk right now to help either identify or release some of that so that we're not getting in our own creative way?
Well, I think first is awareness, right? So I'm big on getting the help and support. Coaches are amazing for that because even as a coach, I have a coach. I mean, if you don't, you shouldn't be doing it. Because if you want to go to that next level, whatever the next level is for you, you need support, period. You do. But while you're thinking about that, you also can do, two things I think are very important to do. And if you do, it brings some awareness. One is to write down the things that come up for you. Do it for 1 month. It can be 1 page, 2 pages, journal. And anything that comes up, because your inner struggles do come up, but you just push. So you don't write it down, right? So do that for a month and then look at it. Where is the thing that I'm struggling with? And who can I reach to help me? Kind of make me aware that, okay, this is what's happening. Because what happens are self-limiting beliefs. It's not that they are going to be released and gone forever, they're not going to come back. But when they come back, even, another client of mine said, when they come, it's foreign. So when it becomes foreign, then you catch it, right? Oh, what's going on? No, thank you. You knocked on the door, we are not opening the door, okay? So that awareness partly could come up, with writing. And then the other thing I would say is priorities. Like we talk about priorities, but you rarely really think and write down our priorities in time boxes, in our agenda. So try to do that for 1 week. Write down what you do every single minute. What I mean is like even 15 minutes of eating, for lunch, how much you take. Is it an hour? Is it an hour and a half? I used to put an hour, but then I didn't count the half an hour prep time for the lunch. So put them down and see where you can relocate, where you are not spending your time in the right way you should be doing. And honestly, just doing these 2 things, it's gonna be so much weight is gonna go down. It's simple, but it's so good. It doesn't have to be difficult. It can be simple and you can get over, what you're dealing with. One of the problems we stay in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, we stay in the not problem, like you go, you get some help, you go through therapy, and you just stay there, which is one of the worst things. I've done therapy. I have nothing wrong with it, by the way. It's great for awareness. But then what do you do with it, right? So that's what you want. First is to realize it and then go and get the help of, what do I do with this?
One thing that you've really emphasized the difference between thinking something and writing it down, and that writing changes something in our nervous system, or how would you describe what's happening to write?
Absolutely. So writing is very different from typing. And now we are so, surrounded by everything digital. Something happens in your brain when you're writing that does not happen when you're typing. I mean, I'm even old school to the point that I have writing agenda. I mean, I have also my digital outlook and everything, but I have to write down what I'm doing during the day. And it does make a difference. The intention is different. And then when you write it, it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this. When it's in your head, you cannot sort them. It's just too much for a human being to sort everything in your head. So please write down everything that's in your head. It's going to be amazing for you. And then, see, okay, I want to do this and I want to do this and 5 other things. Do I need to do them? What are the must to do? What are the nice to do? Categorize things so that you're not thinking, oh, I have to do this social post and I have to write this article and I have a client call. Which one is a must? That is a priority. The nice to do, fine. If you get to it, fine. If you didn't, you are not failing anything. Because one of the reasons we get frustrated with our to-do list, which you shouldn't have, by the way, is that we don't get to them and they get pushed to the next day and the next day and the next week. Instead of paying attention to that, let's have paying attention to the time you're slotting for what you want to do in that time. Are you fully focused in that time? That's the measure of success, not what you completed and what you didn't. For me personally, I'm also doing a course on distraction. My God, I'm loving it. One of the things he discusses is about, to-do list doesn't mean anything. It's just more stress. You just create more stress around your life. So don't do to-do lists.
Are there like 3 or 4 books that you've loved in the last year?
Oh my God.
That we should check out? Because you have a goal of, what is it? You read a book a week or a day?
I wish I would read a book a day. I want to take some courses there, but not now. Well, my goal was this year to read 100 books. Last year I read 50. I went like double down. Go for it. But there are many books I love, but I would say if I name 4, I think Decide is one of the best books for basically time management and be productive. It really changed the way I looked at my time and how I'm doing, even on the weekends, because we think it's the weekend. So, let's not plan anything. No, your weekend is maybe more precious than your week. And you should plan and you should have the playtime or whatever that you want to do. Decide by Steve McClatchy. Another book I really, really liked. They're called Conversations. Amazing book for leaders and just human beings, for your life. So you don't have to be a leader, although I believe everybody is a leader in their life and their work. And then Give and Take is another leadership book, which I loved, by Adam Grant. How Women Rise, beautiful. Sally Helgeson and Marshall Goldsmith, amazing.
I know you love a million books, and that's a very hard question to ask someone like you. Do you have any closing thoughts that come to your mind in honor of encouraging and supporting folks who want to be making and doing and dreaming, even when it's hard, when life makes it hard or our own self makes it hard?
I really think it's our own self that makes it hard. Anything you focus on expands, period. So focus on the things that bring you joy, and you get more joy. I'm not saying difficult situations are not going to happen. You can get sick, you can get many things, right? But when you do still put your mind into what you want really, whatever that is, what you focus on expands. So I'm not saying, don't pay attention to your gut issues, by the way, because I have. I'm not saying that, but I tell you, when I'm on a client call, I mean, it's almost, not almost, it's really mind blowing that it goes away. The pain and everything else goes away, because when you are in your space of flow, it's different. I feel like for that hour or 2 hours, I'm healed. And then after, I'm like, oh, why? Because it's psychology, because I'm not focusing on my gut issue. I'm focusing in what is lighting me up. So focus on things that bring you joy.
I'm so happy that you were willing to hang out with me right now.
Oh, it was so much fun.
And I look forward to many more conversations in our future.
Yes.
If you would like to be in touch or have someone you would love to hear interviewed, email me at afainhouse@gmail.com. I also hope that you're inspired to subscribe to this podcast. New episodes come out every Tuesday. If you would like to watch these interviews in video form and are curious about the happenings of my little business called Fain House, where I paint and make art prints and gift cards for my watercolor originals, I'd love for you to sign up for my email list. When you do, you'll get a coupon for 10% off a one-time purchase in my Etsy shop and first dibs on my annual limited edition calendar printing. You'll also be granted access to our free private Facebook group, which is the one spot you can watch these interviews. If that all sounds fun to you, go to your web browser and type bit.ly/Fainhouse to sign up. That's with a capital F and a capital H in Fain House. This is not a weekly newsletter, but rather a list of folks who are interested in hearing from me time to time. I'm Annie Fain Barrelon. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll leave you with a quote for the day. A book is a dream that you hold in your hand. Neil Gaiman.